Watch 6. The Omega Speedmaster Moonwatch Professional. Under $10,000 new, under $7,000 pre-owned. There is only one answer for the chronograph role in a serious collection. Not because it is the most technically advanced chronograph available at its price, not because the movement is the most impressive caliber Omega has ever produced, but because no other watch carries the specific combination of technical certification, historical significance, and design integrity that the Speedmaster Moonwatch Professional represents. And because that combination is genuinely irreplaceable. Buzz Aldrin wore the Speedmaster on his wrist when he stepped onto the lunar surface on July 20th, 1969. It is the only watch NASA has ever flight certified for extravehicular activity on the surface of the moon. It has been in continuous production, essentially unchanged in its core design since 1957. You can buy a technically superior chronograph movement for less money. You cannot buy another watch that was on the moon. The Moonwatch Professional runs the caliber 3861, a column wheel vertical clutch movement with a coaxial escapement and master chronometer certification. It is hand-wound. Winding the movement each morning in a watch that flew to the moon 60 years before you were born is not an inconvenience. It is the entire point of owning this specific watch rather than any of the automatics that are technically more convenient. The pre-owned market for reference 310.3, 0.4, 2.5, 0.01.02 is deep and honest. Buying a clean example from a reputable dealer under $7,000 is a sensible entry that the watch more than justifies. This is not a speculative purchase. It is the acquisition of an object with a documented history that no amount of money can manufacture after the fact. Watch 7. The Rolex Daytona. Approximately $14,500 at retail, if you can get one at retail. The Daytona was introduced in 1963, named after the Daytona International Speedway, built for racing drivers who needed to read elapsed time at speed. The Paul Newman Association, his personal Daytona sold at Phillips in 2017 for $17,752,000, cemented its cultural position permanently. The current Daytona runs the caliber 4131, developed and manufactured entirely in-house by Rolex, featuring a column wheel mechanism and a silicone hairspring. It is the most sophisticated movement Rolex produces for any steel sports reference in the current catalog. Now, the honest situation with the Daytona in 2025 and 2026. Your authorized dealer will tell you there is a waitlist. What they will not tell you is that the waitlist is less of a queue and more of a relationship, which means buying several things you may not have specifically wanted before the watch you actually came for becomes available. This is Rolex's polite way of saying they would like to know you better before they let you have one of their most coveted references. If you can access one at retail, it is an extraordinary watch at a price the movement and the history justify completely. If you are paying a gray market premium above retail, calculate the total carefully. The Daytona is worth $14,500. Whether it is worth meaningfully more than that is a question only you can answer honestly. What is not in question is that a Purist collection without a great chronograph has a gap in it, and the Daytona is the great chronograph. Watch 8. The FP Journée Elegante. Approximately $26,000 to $40,000 depending on configuration. The FP Journée Elegante is the most unconventional watch on this list, and the one that will generate the most questions from people who see it on your wrist. That is precisely why it belongs here. François-Paul Journe produces approximately 900 watches per year across his entire lineup. 900 for the entire planet. The Elegante is his answer to the question of what a dress watch looks like when designed by one of the most serious movement makers alive, but its proportions and its mechanical philosophy make it equally compelling on any wrist that appreciates what it is doing. The Elegante houses a movement that operates in a way no other watch in the world operates. It detects wrist activity through an electromagnetic motion sensor. When you are wearing it and moving, it runs as a conventional watch. When it detects that it has been set down and is stationary, it slows its movement to a fraction of its normal running rate to preserve power reserve, which Journey estimates extends standby time to 18 years. When it detects motion again, it resumes normal operation. The watch effectively knows when it is being worn and optimizes accordingly. I find this genuinely extraordinary. Not because it is clever, though it is extremely clever, but because it reflects a watchmaker asking a question that nobody else bothered to ask. Why should a watch spend energy keeping time when nobody is looking at it? That is a purist question. The elegant is a purist answer. The case runs 40 millimeters in titanium, available also in precious metals, at significantly higher prices. Secondary market prices for the elegant in titanium currently average around $37,000 on Chrono24, with listings ranging from $32,000 to $64,000. Wearing an elegant tells the people who recognize it something very specific, that you went past the obvious choices, kept looking, and found something that nobody told you to buy. Watch 9. The Audemars Piguet, Royal Oak 15,500, approximately $35,000. In 1972, Gerald Genta sketched the Royal Oak overnight on a single sheet of paper. He submitted it the next morning, Audemars Piguet accepted it, and the watch that resulted changed everything about what a luxury sports watch was allowed to be. Before the Royal Oak, luxury watches were dress watches. A steel sports watch at a luxury price was a contradiction in terms. Genta resolved that contradiction in one drawing and created the template that every integrated bracelet sports watch since has either copied or responded to, including the Tissot PRX at watch 4 on this list, which is perhaps the most honest tribute to his design language available at any price. The Royal Oak 15,500 is the current expression of that original vision in stainless steel. 37 millimeters, 8 hexagonal bezel screws, an integrated bracelet that flows from the case through tapered links to a clasp. The tapisserie dial, the petite tapisserie pattern of interlocking squares machined directly into the dial surface, catches light differently from every angle. The caliber 4302 inside is an in-house Audemars Piguet movement with a 70-hour power reserve and a skeletonized rotor visible through the caseback. The Royal Oak 15,500 has been discontinued, replaced by the 15,510 with a new movement and a slightly revised case geometry. This makes the 15,500 an increasingly interesting secondary market proposition, a discontinued reference of the watch that invented the category from the manufacturer that invented it. The purist's relationship with the Royal Oak is not about the brand or the waiting list or the secondary market premium. It is about the fact that Genta sat down, drew something that had never existed, and the result changed watchmaking permanently. The Royal Oak is that drawing in steel. Watch 10. The Patek Philippe Nautilus 5711. Market value approximately $115,000 to $140,000. For a complete, unpolished example, the Nautilus 5711 is the most contentious watch on this list, and I am including it anyway. Not because of the price, not because of the secondary market mythology, not because of the waiting list that stretched for years, or the gray market premiums that peaked at $180,000 in 2022 before correcting. The 5711 earns the final position in a purist collection for the same reason the Royal Oak earns its slot. It is Gerald Genta's second great design, produced by the most respected movement maker in the history of Swiss watchmaking, and there is no substitute for it. Genta drew the Nautilus in 1976, 4 years after the Royal Oak, for Patek Philippe. Where the Royal Oak was angular and assertive, the Nautilus was flowing and organic. The porthole shape referencing maritime design, the integrated bracelet featuring a transverse link pattern that catches light across its horizontal planes. The caliber 324 SC inside the 5711 runs to Patek's in-house standard of plus or minus 2 seconds per day, twice the precision of the COSC chronometer requirement. The movement is hand-finished to a standard that remains the reference point against which other manufacturers measure their own finishing quality. Patek discontinued the steel 5711 in 2021. Current market prices for a complete, unpolished 5711/1A sit between $115,000 and $140,000 depending on condition, box, papers, and service history. The purist who owns this watch knows why they bought it. They did not buy it because it was on a wait list. They did not buy it because it appreciated. They bought it because Genta drew it, Patek built it. The movement inside is one of the finest ever produced at any price, and nothing else does exactly what it does. Genta invented the language twice. The Nautilus is the second sentence, 10 watches, $22 to $140,000, one complete collection. A Casio F91W for every situation that requires you to stop thinking about your watch entirely. Favored equally by billionaires and bomb makers. which covers the full spectrum of human intent. A Seiko SRPD51 for every day without exception. A Hamilton khaki field for the space between casual and formal that most collections leave empty. A Tissot PRX for the integrated bracelet design language without the price tag or the performance that comes with the original. A Tudor Black Bay 58 for weekends, water, and everything active. An Omega Speedmaster because some objects carry a history that no amount of money can manufacture after the fact. A Rolex Daytona because a Purist collection without a great chronograph has a gap in it, and also because trying to buy one at retail is its own education in how the watch industry actually works. An FP Journée Elegante because the best watches are the ones nobody told you to buy. An Audemars Piguet Royal Oak 15,500 because Genta invented the category and Audemars Piguet built the proof, and a Patek Philippe Nautilus 5711 because Genta invented it twice, and the second time was for Patek. You do not need all 10 immediately. Start with what fills the largest gap in your current rotation and build deliberately from there. A collection built with intention is worth 10 assembled at random. Drop in the comments which piece is missing from your wrist right now.